Ethan hadn't intended to step foot on Clearwater Beach that day. He had planned to spend the morning grinding through emails, the afternoon buried in spreadsheets, and the evening questioning his life choices, his usual routine. But when he woke up with a pounding tension headache and the hollow realization that he hadn't taken a single day off in 11 months, something inside him snapped. He grabbed his keys, ignored the guilt gnawing at him, and drove until skyscrapers melted into sunlight and salt air. The moment he stepped onto the sand, something in him loosened. The beach was nearly empty, the workweek had claimed most people. The air was warm and slightly sweet, carrying the scent of sunscreen and distant coconuts. Soft waves lapped the shore in a gentle rhythm that felt more like breathing than sound. For the first time in months, Ethan inhaled deeply, so deeply it almost hurt, and let his shoulders drop. He found a quiet patch of sand far from the few families scattered nearby. He set his towel down, kicked off his shoes, and lowered himself with a sigh that felt embarrassingly dramatic. He didn't care. The sun pressed lightly against his skin, and the wind played with the edges of his hair. He closed his eyes, letting himself drift toward a half-sleep. For 5 blessed minutes, his brain was quiet. Then he heard it. A laugh. Not just any laugh. A light, bright, unrestrained laugh, so out of place in his usually stressful world that it snapped his eyes open. He propped himself up on his elbows and scanned the shoreline. A woman stood ankle-deep in the surf, holding a pink ice cream cone in one hand while a small fluffy dog ran circles around her feet. Her hair was loose, tousled by the wind, glowing golden in the morning sun. She wore simple denim shorts and a soft white t-shirt, her feet bare, her expression open and joyful. Ethan's stomach dropped. He knew that woman. He knew that voice. He knew that confident posture, even here, where nothing else fit. Victoria Hale, CEO, his boss, his notoriously stern, always composed, never unbuttoned, never soft boss. Ethan froze like a squirrel caught halfway across the road. What was she doing here? Why did she look human? Why did she look happy? He flattened himself onto the towel as if hiding his existence might reverse time. His heart thudded absurdly loud in his chest. This couldn't be real. He must have heat stroke. Maybe he actually died of stress last night and this was some bizarre afterlife glitch. He dared a tiny peek, just enough to confirm whether his sanity was gone. It wasn't gone. The universe was simply cruel. Victoria was still there, still laughing, still holding the ice cream. Still very, very real. Her dog sprinted toward a wave and then bolted back as the water chased it, yapping delightedly. Victoria's laughter followed, softening the hard edges of her typically commanding voice until he barely recognized it. Ethan felt panic rush through him. His boss couldn't see him like this, hair messy from the wind, t-shirt wrinkled, skin unshaven, sprawled on a towel like a man who'd been run over by a workweek. If she recognized him, it would be mortifying. Workplace awkwardness could last years. He needed to escape. Quietly, stealthily, without drawing. A bark exploded beside him. Ethan jerked so hard he choked on his own breath. Victoria's dog, small, fluffy, caramel-colored, was standing on his towel, nose pressed into his elbow. No, 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 go away, please go away, he whispered, waving his hands uselessly. The dog, clearly offended, barked again. Loudly. And that was it. The moment destiny decided to ruin him. Victoria turned. Her eyes landed directly on him. Recognition flickered. Confusion followed. Her mouth parted slightly, as though trying to align two mismatched images, her overworked employee, and this disheveled beach goblin. Ethan scrambled upright, nearly tripping over his towel. Ms. Hale, he squeaked. Hi, hello, I wasn't, this isn't, I didn't know. She blinked. Ethan. Her voice wasn't sharp or cold. It was surprised, almost warm, but warmth didn't help his panic. I swear I'm not stalking you, he blurted. I'm here because of stress. Not because of you. I mean, not that you're stress. You're not. Well, you are, but not in a bad, no, I mean. He stopped. He needed a reboot. Victoria's lips twitched. She lifted her ice cream slightly, like a peace offering. It's fine, she said. You're allowed to exist outside the office. He swallowed hard, unsure whether to bow, salute, or melt into the sand. She stepped closer, her dog happily circling her ankles. The breeze tugged at her shirt, and for the first time since he'd known her, she looked relaxed. Soft. Like herself, maybe, before she became the woman everyone feared. I didn't expect to see you here, she said. But this is nice. Nice. Had Victoria Hale just said nice? His brain short-circuited again. She glanced at the empty space beside him. May I sit? He nodded so vigorously he nearly threw out his neck. She lowered herself onto the towel, tucking her legs beneath her. A moment passed, quiet, comfortable, strange. Then she spoke again, her voice quieter. This beach is the only place where no one expects anything from me. The confession surprised him. It peeled back a layer he'd never imagined she had. She looked at him fully then, her eyes softer than he'd ever seen them. You look exhausted, she said gently. I've noticed. He swallowed, his throat suddenly tight. No one ever noticed. Not like that. I didn't know how to help, she added. For once, Ethan couldn't hide behind jokes or awkwardness. The sincerity in her voice disarmed him. The waves rolled in. The sun warmed the sand. And for the first time since he started working under her, he felt something unexpected. Safe. She smiled at him, not the professional, tight-lipped curve she used in meetings, but a real smile, warm and honest. Let's just be two people on a beach, she said. And just like that, everything quietly began to change. The sun had already begun lowering itself toward the horizon when Ethan realized how long they'd been sitting together. What started as a brief, awkward exchange had melted into an easy rhythm, surprising both of them. Conversation drifted naturally, from small talk to stories, from stories to things neither of them had admitted out loud in years. The beach around them was slowly emptying, but neither made any move to leave. Victoria sat with her arms wrapped loosely around her knees, the wind pulling a few strands of hair across her face. She didn't bother tucking them back. She looked different, not just out of the office, out of her armor. You know, she said suddenly, her voice softer than the waves, when I saw you earlier, I thought I was hallucinating. Ethan laughed. Trust me, I thought the same thing. I was ready to pretend to be a rock. She nudged him with her shoulder. You are terrible at hiding. He chuckled, but the humor faded as her expression grew thoughtful. I didn't mean to scare you earlier, she said quietly. You looked like someone caught committing a crime. I panicked, he admitted. I've never seen you outside the office. You're always, he stopped himself, unsure how to phrase it without sounding rude. Intense, she offered with an amused raise of her eyebrow. He hesitated, then nodded. She laughed softly, looking toward the water. That's fair. A long silence followed, but it wasn't uncomfortable. The tide rolled in and out, leaving thin trails of foam that flashed gold in the dying light. Her dog slept between them, curled up like a warm little punctuation mark. Can I tell you something? Victoria asked, surprising him again. Of course. I wasn't always like this. Ethan turned to her. Her voice carried something fragile, like a truth that had been trapped for too long. I used to be gentler. Kinder. I used to laugh easily. I liked people. I trusted my team. But the higher I climbed, the less room there was for softness. The company became my entire identity. He watched her carefully, struck by how raw she sounded. I told myself that being strict, distant, demanding, that it was necessary, she continued. But somewhere along the way, I became someone I hardly recognized. Ethan swallowed. He had never imagined he'd hear Victoria Hale, legend of efficiency, queen of composure, confess something so painfully human. You're not the only one losing yourself, he whispered. She looked at him, her gaze sharp but gentle. Tell me. He hesitated. Sharing the truth felt vulnerable, but she had trusted him first. I came into the company hoping to prove myself, he began. I wanted to show I could be useful. Capable. Worth something. He laughed bitterly. But the more I worked, the less I felt like a person. I'm always behind. Always pushing. Always expecting myself to fail. You don't fail, she said softly. He shook his head. You only see the parts where I make it in time. You don't see the nights I don't sleep or the mornings I wake up and feel like I'm already disappointing someone. Victoria exhaled slowly, her expression shifting, understanding, guilt, and resolve all tangled together. I should have seen it, she murmured. You've been running yourself into the ground. I thought that's what you wanted, he said, and the honesty of it hurt. No, she whispered instantly. God, no. I want you to succeed, not crumble. Their eyes met in the fading light, and something unspoken passed between them, recognition, maybe. Or relief. Today, she said, glancing at the horizon, today reminded me that I don't want to be a leader who destroys the people who believe in her. The waves hissed against the shore as if agreeing. She shifted closer, turning fully to him. So I'm making changes. Starting Monday. He blinked. What kind of changes? Your workload, she said. It's too much. I'm redistributing tasks. And I'm forcing you to take actual breaks. Non-negotiable. He opened his mouth to protest, more out of habit than disagreement, but she raised a finger. And, she added, I'm taking a vacation. Ethan stared at her, stunned. You. Yes. She gave a tiny smile. I think I forgot I'm allowed to have a life. He didn't know what to say. The woman he'd worked for, the woman who had built an empire on discipline and control, was finally choosing herself. It felt unreal. That's good, he said at last. You deserve rest. Her smile deepened, not wide but warm enough to reach her eyes. She looked out over the water again. The sky had turned orange and lavender, the sea reflecting every shifting color like a living painting. Do you ever feel like you're running so fast you forget where you were going in the first place? She asked. All the time, he admitted. Then maybe, she trailed off, thinking. Maybe slowing down won't kill us. Maybe not, he said, smiling a little. They fell into silence again, watching the sun sink, each caught in their own thoughts. Her dog snored softly, twitching its tiny paws as if dreaming of chasing waves. The chill of evening began creeping into the breeze, but neither wanted to leave. Ethan, Victoria said after a while. Yes, thank you for today. He blinked. For what? I didn't do anything. She shook her head. You were honest. And, you reminded me what being human feels like. His chest tightened at her sincerity. You, too, he said. I didn't know you had this side of you. Not many people do. Well, he murmured, I'm glad I got to see it. Victoria held his gaze, longer than before. Her eyes soft, her expression open, something gentle blooming there. Me too, she whispered. The moment stretched, delicate and warm. Not romantic, no, not yet, but meaningful. A quiet shift in the ground beneath both their lives. When she finally stood, brushing sand from her legs, she didn't look like the CEO he knew. She looked lighter, free. We should head back, she said softly. He nodded and rose beside her. Her hand brushed his arm, not accidentally, not entirely intentionally. Just a simple, quiet connection. I'm really glad you were here, she said as they gathered their things. This meeting, even if it was accidental, was exactly what I needed. He smiled, feeling something inside him settle. Something hopeful. Same, he said. They walked back toward the parking lot together, the sky turning deep violet behind them. They weren't boss and employee anymore, at least not for this moment. They were two people who had finally paused long enough to see each other. And without fully realizing it, they both sensed the truth. Nothing about their lives would be the same again.